What's up guys, Gentlemen here once again, and it is approximately 3:26 a.m. This is UK time, and as I was lying in bed, I was just thinking about what made me actually pick up the Canon EOS R3 and got rid of my red Komodo, and then also why not the R5C. And so here are my 5 reasons and 5 key features that I actually like about the EOS R3. So I'm not going to waste much of your time. This is just a quick run through, and the first one is the 6K full frame RAW compared over to the red Komodo. And you know, the red Komodo was a beast of a camera, and quote unquote people call it cinema camera, but it had that limitation with the Super 35. To some people it's not a big deal. To me it wasn't a big deal, but being able to shoot on a full frame 6K, I realized how much more I was missing the full frame look over the Super 35. So that's number one thing that I really love about the EOS R3. Now, number two is the stacked image sensor. Now, we don't know exactly how that works, but it's layers of sensors that's been put together that actually minimizes the rolling shutter on this camera. Coming from the red Komodo, we know that that was a global shutter, so you didn't have any of these jello look on the image, which was superior over even its bigger brothers, the DSM-C3s and the V-Raptor, for example, when it comes to the global shutter feature. So having a semi, if not almost the same as the red Komodo in this camera, it's a win-win for me, because it would be very difficult to go back to a camera that has rolling shutter issues. And this is enabled due to the stacked sensor, which means that it allows the sensor to capture images or information that comes to the sensor very fast, so fast that it minimizes the rolling shutter so much that it's barely noticeable. So that's my number two thing that I love about this Canon EOS R3. And again, comparing it to the R5C, you know, this is superior than the R5C, because the R5C does suffer from rolling shutter, unfortunately. Now, the number three thing is the LCD screen on this camera. The LCD screen is so accurate and it's such a high resolution that you can actually pull critical focus on and also have clean image coming out of there. This is priority because it allows you to actually see whether the image is really overexposed or underexposed, especially with this camera that doesn't have waveforms and peaking and you name it. So this screen is definitely superior over many other mirrorless cameras out there, if not the best in the market at the moment. Moving on is the autofocus. Now, I don't have to say much about it. We know this is the autofocus king when it comes to cameras right now in the world. This is not overrated. The autofocus feature and system in this camera is up to the highest standard that you can find. When this thing locks on your eye, it locks on your eye. When it locks onto a vehicle, it locks onto a vehicle. And the same goes when it locks onto an animal, it locks onto an animal. Now, when I'm saying this, I don't mean just for photography, but video mode. So imagine as soon as it locks onto the eye of the person, that's it, it's done. No flaws whatsoever. So the autofocus on here is the best around, period. And that's one thing that I really love about the Canon EOS R3 as well. Now, finally, but not the least, is the ergonomics. If you have a look here, there are so many buttons on here. Obviously, you've got your standard custom buttons that comes with many cameras. But the best part of this, as much as they are claiming this is photography first and then video second, in the video mode, you can actually customize your video settings to each of those custom buttons. Now you have mode 1 through till 5, and at the moment the way I have mine set up is mode 1, for example, shoots 6K raw, 10-bit, you name it. And then mode 2, I have 6K 60, 10-bit raw. And then mode 3, I have 4K raw, 24p, 10-bit. And then mode 5, I have 4K raw, 120p, 10-bit. So I can easily switch from one codec to the other, or switch from one resolution and frame rate to the other. And so it makes it so much easier by just hitting this button and then changing the mode. It's unlike the Canon R5C or many other cameras that you have to go into the settings and then change your frame rate, change your codec one after the other. So it makes this camera very, very versatile when it comes to my needs. Now, finally, to top it up, I know I said 5, but this is 6. Finally, to top it up, put an icing on the cake, is the battery life. The battery life is so good. Trust me, it is underrated. I went to shoot a feature film. We started at 10 a.m. and finished at 10 p.m. And by the time I finished shooting everything in 4K RAW, 24p and 120p, by the time I finished shooting that time of the night, we had only 1 bar left on this camera. And this tells you how versatile and how powerful this camera is. As much as it's cramped with so many features and there's so much going on in the system, the stack sensor, processing and global shutter and whatnot, the camera is still economically favorable when it comes to battery. So this is my 5 reasons why, or rather 6 reasons why I really actually love this Canon EOS R3. So I think it's about time to go back to bed and have a good night if it is nighttime at yours. If not, stay tuned and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.